Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Cristina Balan and I will be your presenter. Today's session will be replying to one of the questions raised recently by your technical manager. He was looking for a solution to provide customers with an easy access to the product, but without skipping steps where users provide data such as age, occupation, profile picture, important for the company. The answer can be found in the next few slides that will take you through the concept of three-legged open authorization and how it's used. The main benefit for customer of this type of authorization is being spared of filling long registration forms and creating each time a new user to just share information that can already be found in other accounts most of us own today, like LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter. We will start with a brief review of the stakeholders involved in the flow. Three-legged OAuth gets its name from the fact it involves three different parties to get you an access token: your application, the OAuth service, and the user. You can think of it as a method of checks and balances to make sure that your application is what it says it is, because you clearly identify yourself, and the user is who they say they are because they clearly identify themselves. We will review in more detail how this exchange of information leading to access is completed in the next slide. We have mentioned as one of the players the user, also known as resource owner, holding the keys granting us access to the data, resource, our application is looking for. The next stakeholder is the OAuth client, the application who wants the access to specific data owned by your user. This can be a browser or a mobile application. Our last stakeholder in our three-legged communication is the authorization server that will grant the access to the data based on the authorization level provided by the user. We will review next the flow of communication exchange between the three stakeholders we have listed in our previous slide. Before we move further, I would like to bring to your attention something that some might have as a question at this point. Where do my credentials reside in my attempt to grant an application access to information stored in with other services? Rest assured, no credential is shared by the authorization server with any of the applications you are granting access to, and you will understand just in a minute why. Let's take a scenario in which we want an application to have access to certain photos we have posted in our Facebook account. First step in our three-way communication will be for the consumer, known as OAuth client, illustrated here with a generic name of my app, to send a request to provider, our authorization server, for a temporary token that will enable it to expose the needed login page to the user. Provider, in our example here Facebook, will send back the required token, accompanied in certain cases by a token secret. This will allow my app to redirect the user to the login page where the authentication will take place by introducing its credentials, user and password in most of the cases, and submitting them back to the provider. By completing step 4, the user is stating its legitimacy to access the services shared by provider. At this point, the provider goes back to consumer application with a message that user confirmed the request and the communication can continue. At this point, all the communication will bypass the user and from now on will be formed of a message exchange between consumer and provider. Consumer application will next request an access token from the provider, this token specifying what level of access is needed and what resources my app will inquire. Once provider will return the access token, consumer will go ahead and access the protected resources, in our example the Facebook photos, that will be returned by Facebook services. As you have been patient on listening to all this long 9-step communication flow between our stakeholders involved in a three-legged open authorization, I would like to close today's session with a more familiar example by demonstrating how authorization happened between crossover application and LinkedIn services. I will now switch to my browser. As you can observe in the right panel of the crossover interface, we have the login section, where two options are provided to us: using the credentials you already registered with Crossover, or option 2, login using your LinkedIn account. For the purpose of today's demonstration, I will opt for the second option and proceed with my LinkedIn account. Once the option is selected, you are redirected to a login page where user and password are requested. I will stop here for a moment to review the first section of the login page, where you can see in clear stated what information is Crossover application going to further access out of my LinkedIn account. Once I will press Allow Access button, through the steps already reviewed in previous slides, the information stated above, such as your profile overview and email address, will be accessible to Crossover application to use. If I further want to revoke the access granted, all I need to do is to log into my LinkedIn account, search the Privacy and Settings menu for Partners and Third Parties section, and remove the permitted services the Crossover now own. Hoping you have enjoyed today's session, I would like to hear your feedback on my email address or in our future meetings. Thank you all.